Welcome to the Golf Improvement Podcast, episode 231.
Welcome to the podcast for golf lovers who are looking to shoot lower scores. Dedicated to professional club fitting, putting and short game improvement, and effective practice techniques to improve your golf game. This is the Golf Improvement Podcast with your host, Tony Wright.
Hello, this is Tony Wright from Game Improvement Golf in Oak Ridge, Tennessee with the Golf Improvement Podcast, dedicated to sharing useful information on professional club fitting, putting and short game improvement, and effective practice techniques, changing golfers' lives, one golfer at a time. If you read my recent blog post, you probably know what's coming in this episode. An interview with Kevin Davidson, author of the wonderful new book, The Magic in St. Andrews by the Positive Golfer. Kevin talks about many of the stories he presents in his book in this interview. But the book and the stories are really a result of his amazing positivity. Well, you'll hear about that and more in this absolutely fun interview with Kevin Davidson.
Tony Wright and Game Improvement Golf, changing golfers' lives, one golfer at a time.
Welcome to episode 231 of the Golf Improvement Podcast. Maybe we should view this episode as the Christmas episode. Kevin Davidson, author of The Magic in St. Andrews by the Positive Golfer, reached out to me, I guess it was about a month or so ago, and asked if I'd consider having him on my podcast. Well, that's something I'll do, but I got to read the book first. Well, I did read the book, and I love this book because it just has, for golfers, a lot of wonderful stories in it. And that had me smiling pretty much for all of the 293 pages. So, Kevin, welcome.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
Nice that we got our little glitch worked out. I say that too many times, so there you go. Well, I think a good way to start today is for you to share what started you to love the game of golf.
Well, Tony, I didn't really fall in love with golf until I moved to St. Andrews in 2020. I liked golf when I lived up north in Aberdeen, where there are some great courses, as you're probably aware, Royal Aberdeen, Murca, Cruden Bay. We've got the Trump course up there, the two Trump courses. So it wasn't like my life is now, where my life is golf. It simply competed with so many other things, including business. And golf was a way to network and do business in Aberdeen, which was the oil capital of Europe. But when you come to St. Andrews, that is the industry. Golf is the industry, and everything revolves around it. And you can't help but get caught up in it. I used to play twice a week in Aberdeen from the time that the Masters finished in April until the clubs went away from me again at the end of October for 5 months, so maybe 50 times a year. I have probably played about 210 games of golf this year by the end of December, 4 times a week.
Wow.
And I'm still working as well. And that's how much I've fallen in love with the game of golf. And that is surely at the steps of St. Andrews that has happened.
Yeah. Well, you weave so many interesting and fun golf-related experiences, I think, in your book. I mean, first, how do you get so lucky? But what led you to develop the initial idea to write The Magic in St. Andrews? And how do you think you learned to write in such an interesting way? Is this you learned something as a kid? Because, I mean, the text and everything, it's engaging. It's interesting.
Well, I appreciate that. First of all, how did I get so lucky? I think it's with a positive mindset, Tony. I think that anything is possible.
Yeah.
The book is about what happens when magic, and I think there is magic in St Andrews, meets positivity. And this is what really the book is about. My experiences with the touch points always coming back to St Andrews, and that started when I was a 15-year-old, when I came to the practice day of the 1984 Open, Sevi's Open, with my dad, and it goes on all the way through to my 5-year anniversary in the town here, just at the end of July 2025. So it's a 40-year journey that is reflected in that book. You asked me how did I develop the initial idea for writing the book. Well, originally it was going to be called 10 to Scratch in 10 months. And thankfully for me and for this book, I didn't make it to scratch. I got pretty close. So I had to come up with something else. And I was playing golf with some friends and telling them the story about the Masters champion who wouldn't sign my Masters flag, and we'll maybe come on to that shortly.
Yeah.
It took me 2 full golf holes to tell the story. And after I played each shot, they kept saying, but what happened next? And I realised it was a good story. And that is when I reflected on all those experiences that had happened from 1984. And so it does cover those 40 years of what I would call weird, inexplicable things which kept on being delivered to me. It was as if there was some greater force at work in helping me write the book. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
How did I learn to write in such an interesting way? I'm a lawyer by profession, and we are probably taught to think quite logically and to write quite logically. And my other half, Kerry, who I mentioned in the book, she had always said to me that I did kind of text and email in quite a matter-of-fact way. And so when I asked her to read the first chapter, it was with quite a bit of trepidation on my part, and I think more than a little trepidation on her part. In fact, she tells me that she had already worked out a way of almost letting me down. So when I handed that first chapter to her to read, while we were away on a golfing trip in the north of England last November, I asked her to give me honest feedback on it. Now, she reads quite voraciously, and I was prepared to respect and accept her opinion. And I would have stopped writing any more chapters if she hadn't liked it. So when you hand over a chapter, it's like handing over your baby for the first time to someone else to look after when you go out. It's nerve-wracking, and I waited for her reaction as she read it. And you know what? She cried. She laughed, and she loved it, and I kept writing. And I think I was writing from the heart about things and experiences which to me were wondrous and made such an impression on me that it just seemed to come easily and naturally. And it appeared to be quite far from that matter-of-fact lawyer that I normally am. So I think there's Kevin the lawyer and Kevin the writer, and thankfully for me, hopefully never the two shall meet. I suspect that my fingers, as I typed, were possessed. And it was a magical experience writing it. It was magical reflecting on my experiences, first of all, back at the Open in 84 with my dad. He was the one who introduced me to the game, and it helped me reflect, and hopefully it comes out in the book, how thankful we should be to those who do introduce us to this game of golf that we love. And that was a special time being able to describe, and there's a moment in the first chapter where I talk about how proud my dad was and respected something that I'd done.
Oh yeah, I remember that story now.
As a junior player, and that was a magical moment for me. So being able to relive that was fantastic as well. So, that was probably just writing from the heart is how it came about, really, Tony.
Yeah. Well, there's a recurring, it kind of weaves through a lot of the book, a recurring book story that started with you meeting Billy Casper. And this led to, what is the flag story in the book that continued a long way. So share a little bit about that and a little about what resulted, and maybe even just a snippet of, there was a guy that said, "I won't be signing your flag, sir," which was oh man, what a great story.
Yeah, I mean, I met Billy Casper in 2004, thanks to an introduction made by his son Byron, who I met at an event in St Andrews. Byron was living here in St Andrews, and I was fortunate enough to meet him. And when I did meet Billy Casper, and he won the Masters in 1970 along with two other majors, US Open, at the end of our hour-long meeting, he handed over a Masters flag to me, and he signed it smack bang in the centre. I'm actually just looking up at it in my office just now. It's making me smile. And he told me not to let anyone else sign that flag unless they were a Masters champion. Now, I'm thinking, okay, that's good. I've met one Masters champion. I'm unlikely to meet anyone else. But I vowed to deliver on that promise and not let anyone else sign it. So there began a 21-year journey to have the flag signed and now, as I look up at it, there are 19 signatures on that flag.
Yeah.
Including the one who said to me, when I put the flag in front of him, "I will not be signing your Masters flag, sir." And he walked away from me. And I was quite punch-drunk from that statement, and I was left wondering why that was. Well, I'm not going to spoil the story, but it wasn't the end of it for me, though, and I didn't give up. And within 24 hours, that Master champion did sign the flag for me and embraced. He came out of the lift, excuse me, and he came out of the lift and he walked towards me and he said to me, "Kevin, tell me the story about the flag again." And
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a special moment, but also just, for me, it was more that trademark positivity, resilience, don't give up, and good things will happen. And that's really what happened.
It's a story among many stories, so it's really good. Now, you talked a lot in the book about the 150th Open, and Open's coming back to St. Andrews pretty soon, but you were, some of the things at the 150th Open, but also about finding love on the links.
Yeah, I was having lunch today at the new club in St. Andrews, which overlooks the O course, and you're right, the 2027 Open returns here, and we are seeing so many works being done to the course just now. The 16 holes of 18 are only open, but they're lengthening the course, they're putting in bunkers, so lots of work going on. But the 150th Open, that was really the first time for me in 2022 where I was exposed to a major tournament in the town. And I was a marshal, and had signed up to be a marshal, and I was positioned on hole 2. Now, I was a little bit disappointed because hole 17 was the kind of show golf hole, if you like, and a lot of my fellow members were positioned there. But actually, hole 2 turned out to be absolutely fantastic for me, because I was able to become a £100,000 marshal by helping a player find his ball in a gorse bush. So he only got a 1-shot penalty rather than the 2-shot penalty for a lost ball. I'd seen it flying into this gorse bush, about 30 yards away from where the marshals were looking for it. We found it, and he took the drop, and he got the one-stroke penalty, and he finished on smack bang on the cut line the Friday, and went on to finish 7th in the Open. Now, that player was Kevin Kisner, and listen, I would have helped anyone else find the ball. It wasn't just because he was called Kevin. But right. That was fantastic. I think then I went on to speak about in the book about how I was able to, well, not able to, but how I held up the Open for 10 minutes on the Saturday afternoon. And that was involving Lee Westwood and Bryson DeChambeau as well. So, all these experiences come out in the book. And then also the pinnacle was ending up partying with the eventual winner, Cam Smith, at the Old Course Hotel long into the night on the Sunday evening. And that was thanks to a friend of mine who I met for the first time during the Open, and who took part in the Celebration of Champions tournament. She was a Paralympic champion in tennis, table tennis, and she'd been invited by the RNA to take part in the Celebration of Champions along with Tiger Woods, Gary Player, etc. So her name was Monique Kalkman, and meeting her was a sliding doors moment that unlocked a lot of those experiences during the 150th Open. She was a special lady. Within a week, though, I met my own special lady, finding love in the links, and that, I suppose, actually the whole book is kind of a love story. Whether that's with golf, I think I like to talk about the fact that you find love on the links with your golf partners as well.
Oh, yeah.
With the 3-ball, 4-ball that you play with every week, the banter you have with them, the love you have for your playing partners. But also, for me, it delivered my own golfing goddess, and that was Kerry, and that was, I like to say that I thank the golfing gods, but also the Tinder gods. And that was because we both had golfing photographs on our Tinder profile photos. So we connected, we met up in person, and 3.5 years later, we're still together. We play golf together. We've now started playing mixed opens together as well. So that was, again, St Andrews delivered that to me. If I'd been up in Aberdeen, I think our limits, she was in Edinburgh, would just have been a little bit too far apart. So I've St Andrews to thank for meeting my life partner.
Pretty neat. And lots of great discussion in the book on that. Now, there's, besides all these little stories, there's a bunch in it about, the development of your golf game from initially a 10 handicap, but you just weren't satisfied with that, lowering to pretty low single digits. So from the golf improvement standpoint, some of the things that really helped you to get there.
I think first of all, we've got world-class facilities here in St Andrews. We've got a world-class practice academy, great chipping areas, putting, driving bays. I talk about my 8 pillars in the book, 4 of which are physical, is to be prepared, play competitively, seek continuous improvement, look after your body. Now, within those, I think actually, when I reflect on it, playing competitively, and going back to your regular 4-ball with your friends, when you are putting for pride or for that pound or dollar every week, and you're being made to make putts under pressure, that can only help your game. And it helped my game. I was playing with better players as well all the time. I was playing with plus players. And I really took an interest in how they managed their golf game, how they course managed. For me, I did make a run on getting to scratch within 10 months of getting to St Andrews, but then I also had a run earlier this year in getting to scratch again. I'm not going to spoil where I got to in terms of the book, but that was certainly for me a memorable journey in 2025 getting down. And again, I think a lot of that talk about being the positive golfer. So the mental pillars for me are keep your brain slumbering. Do not, if you are in a divot and you walk up to your ball in a divot, don't respond to it. Just play the ball. Do not wake your brain up. As I did one time, and learned a lesson and ended up throwing the ball through the green. I think the six would be positive, stay positive. Doesn't matter what happens early in your round. You can have double bogeys, but you've still got the ability, hopefully, to go and shoot birdies or pars and have a good round. I think it's also important to set goals every year. I like to share my goals. I know other people don't like to share them, but I think for me, it holds me accountable if I set goals and tell people what those goals are. And finally, never forget you have to enjoy yourself. This is a game to be enjoyed. If I ever get down on myself, I just look at some of these memorial benches. I don't know if you've got them in the States, but we have them around the links and golf courses here where somebody's family may have dedicated a bench and a plaque to someone who's passed away. I just think to myself that person would gladly change places with me despite the fact I might be having a bad game.
Yeah. I've got a very close friend, and we have a memorial bench on the 16th hole where I play, and his wife passed away, 6 to 8 months ago. And every time we play, he stops there and takes a minute. And that's a special time for him. Absolutely.
And my father, sadly passed away. We have a bench for him up at Ellen Golf Club. And during COVID, when I spent some time up there, I would go walking on the golf courses as everything was closed down there. And I would get to the 6th hole and I would sit in that bench for 10 minutes and I would reflect. And for me, COVID in itself was a great reset. So yeah, they're special places.
Yeah. Now, what would you say, if you're looking back, what are your most satisfying golf achievements? And you talked about a bunch of them in there, but just a few over the years.
Yeah. Listen, my scoring 5 under par, 67 in the Old Course, off the black tees in a major club competition, that is right up there with my most satisfying golf achievements. It felt like a caddy shack round where yeah. you couldn't, a putt would be missing. It would hit a grain of grass and it would go in. I think I shot 7 birdies and it all seemed so easy. It was seamless. But the funny thing was I always felt I had a round like that in me. And to be fair, I still do. And I still believe I can actually go better than that. And I shot that when I was playing off a handicap of 4. So, again, I think anything is possible. Winning a Scratch Club Championship when I was playing off a handicap of 5 and beating plus players. Again, I think in one of the early rounds, I was 6 holes down after 8, and I managed to win 2 and 1. So those are the memorable ones. And I think the more recent one is playing in mixed open tournaments with Kerry. We came second at Carnoustie in a 40-mile-an-hour wind, and I think only our second ever mixed open tournament. So we had fun. And it was the end to my dream of meeting somebody I could share my life and also the fairways with here, and also golfing holidays abroad. So those for me have been very satisfying golf achievements.
Yeah. Well, we're going to end in a minute or two, but this has been a great interview. We're going to end a little bit why you love St. Andrews, but there's a part of the book that is really neat, a little unique. It's almost like a travel book in a way. You talk about so many pieces of this is here in St. Andrews, that is here, you can go here, you can go there. For somebody, just for that element of it, buying the book is pretty neat. I mean, talk a little bit about that, but then, coming back to sort of the beginning, a little bit about why you love St. Andrews.
Yeah, I felt it was important to give my take on St. Andrews because I think we've all seen it on TV. If you've been there, you're probably quite astounded at just how small a place St. Andrews is. But each street has its own piece of history, and I have, since I moved here 5 years ago, tried to learn about the history. I tried to get to know a lot of the people in and around town. So I wanted to share that knowledge as well, so that anyone coming here for the first time can just pick this up, read it, and go, okay, I know how to get there quite quickly. I know where I want to go. I know where I need to be, and try and provide that chapter of information. So I do talk in that chapter about the best drive in golf for me, and other people will have their opinions, but for me, it's the one when you drive past the St. Andrews town sign, and then on the left, you see the St. Andrews Academy and the Old Course Hotel, and you're only a few 100 yards away from the Old Course itself. I still pinch myself when I drive to the new golf club where I'm a member, and I'm overlooking the first and the 18th fairways of the Old Course. I mean, the world comes to St. Andrews, and for me, it really is Disney for golfers. There are so many great people here in the town, and they all love the game of golf. The bars are full of people who are telling everyone else about the round they've had, and everyone's just so eager to listen because the enthusiasm and the love for the game is just there. I've spoken to people, I caddied as well during the summer when I was between jobs, and I asked people if they'd ever come across anywhere else like St. Andrews, and no one has yet been able to tell me of a similar place with the golfers, with the students, with the history, and it truly is a magical place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a real pleasure for you to contact me about doing this. I know you're excited about getting people to read the book, and you put a lot of your heart into it. I'm going to put links in the show notes to the book and to your author website. But anybody listening that knows me knows I'm not just blowing smoke about this. I really had fun reading it. I don't ever read a book in 2 days. And I was motivated partly because I know you were interested in me in doing it, but it was just fun. My wife was, "Are you going to finish this thing?" But it's great. And I think you have given people a lot of sense of what's in the book. And if you do buy it and read it, put a review on Amazon. That'll make a big difference for Kevin. So
it does make a big difference. And I've been blown away by people's reactions, like your old Torero, people who say that they picked it up and read it within 2-3 days. And for me, it was a pleasure writing it. And, I always hoped that that's how people might react, but you've no idea until people start reading it. And it has been so enjoyable hearing people feedback that, and it's made it worthwhile. But I hope that I've done justice to the love I feel for St. Andrews and how I think this place is so magical. And it's not just me that's experienced that. In that chapter, other people's stories, which you know about, there are examples of people who have walked in. Locals who have walked into one of the local pubs and have walked out, and within 6 months they're playing at Cypress Point. Magic does happen here.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, and I'm looking forward to getting this one live on my website. Take care. And hang in for just a second, Kevin.
The Golf Improvement Podcast is sponsored by David Orr and the Flatstick Academy, putting instruction without all of the bull. www.flatstickacademy.com.
Thanks to David Orr and the Flatstick Academy for sponsoring my podcast and website in 2025. In the link I've provided, you'll see that David has created more than 385 Flatstick videos, more than 7,000 hours of content, and 90 premium articles. Incredible value for the subscriber cost of $9.99 a month, especially if you want to stop being swayed by much of the awful putting content you see from Dr. YouTube. See www.flatstickacademy.com for more details. David, you absolutely blessed me and hopefully, surely my listeners this year by sponsoring my podcast and website in 2025. You helped me maintain and grow my podcast this past year. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks again. Kevin, I'm certain the Spirit of St. Andrews by the Positive Golfer will be a huge success here at the end of 2025 and into 2026. It's a perfect last-minute Christmas gift for golfers, but also a great after-Christmas gift for 2026. I put links in the show notes to where you can purchase The Spirit in St. Andrews by the Positive Golfer on Amazon.com. And I also posted a link to Kevin's author website where you can learn more about him and his new book. Well, for a shout out today, thanks in 2025 to Gordon Morrison, Dr. J.P. Guidry, Peter Sanders, David Orr twice, Dr. David Creswell from my alma mater, Carnegie Mellon University, John Novosel, Keith Muir, Dean Snell, Mike Gromatowski, and Kevin Davidson. All of the wonderful people who did interviews with me this past year. Totally, wonderfully appreciated. If you click the link in the show notes for this episode, you'll see all of my favorite previously published podcast content. I hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube podcast channel and also like the episodes you listen to through YouTube. Thanks. Well, that's it for 2025. But the Golf Improvement Podcast will be back in 2026. Maybe a little bit differently, but hopefully just as valuable for all of you listeners. But until then, take care. God bless Ukraine, and God bless America.
Game Improvement Golf, changing golfers' lives, one golfer at a time. www.gameimprovementgolf.com